The average German saves 11.1% of his income, insanely high percentage compared to other countries around the world. We save more than Austria, Japan, the US, and Italy. But despite our super high savings rate, Germans are much poorer than people in Austria, Italy, Japan, and the US, who save far less than us. How is that even possible? Let's find that out together, and let me also tell you exactly how much you need to save from your income, no matter how old you are right now, so you will certainly do better than us Germans, and maybe even reach all your financial goals. If we want to determine where you are standing financially now and what you need to do to get to where you want to be, we need these three factors. We need your age as the most important factor. Small spoiler here already. Compounding interest is a The earlier you start investing, the more interest will sum up, which will generate even more interest for you, so your wealth grows exponentially. If you get that right and make compounding interest work for you, you're almost guaranteed to succeed financially. But if you get it wrong, oh boy, you'll see later on. We need your salary, obviously, because the more you earn, the more you can save and invest. Here's a chart with kind of old numbers, but I doubt anything has changed over the last 10 years. The bottom 50% of income usually have zero or even a negative savings rate. That's the people who live paycheck to paycheck or get consumer loans. The top 10% have a reasonably good savings rate, and the top 1% completely knock it out of the park. Which makes sense if you think about it. If you would earn €1,000,000 a year, you could live the most lavish life possible and still save comfortably 50% of your income, no problem. And of course, we need to know your starting point, your net worth, by adding up everything that you own and subtracting all debt from it. And the higher, the better, of course. I don't think there's any further explanation needed here. How are people below the age of 25 doing? Their average gross salary is €2,680 a month, which should be right around €1,869 net income per month. That might sound high to you, but please keep in mind that here in Germany, a lot of young kids start an apprenticeship, Ausbildung in German, when they're 16. So they start earning money at a young age and are full in their careers early 20s. If you are studying, your income situation might look a lot different. The trend is decreasing, less and less kids start an Ausbildung and more kids study, but please don't be sad seeing these numbers when you're a student in your early 20s now. You are investing in your future with your university degree. Speaking about investing, how much money do people below 25 have? On average, €6,500, which is pretty good compared to the US, for example, where the average student has around $30,000 in student loan debt. If this below 25-year-old person invests that €6,500 and saves the average 11.1% of his net income that we had earlier in the video, he would reach almost $900,000 by the time he retires at age 67, with the historical 7% rate of return of the stock market. Pretty good, huh? Almost a millionaire with a little over €200 a month. And we will see later on that this is the only age that comes even close to becoming a millionaire. In our FIRE video, Financial Independence Retire Early, we discussed the 50-30-20 rule. You can spend 50% of your income on needs, food and housing, 30% on your wants, vacation, hobbies, and save or invest the remaining 20% for your future. If this below 25-year-old person with close to €1,800 net income follows this rule, he will save €374 a month to reach almost 1.5 million with a 7% return. That's insane, right? Man, do I wish I was 25 again. And speaking about FIRE, more and more people that book meetings with us, which you can do right here by the way, seem to want a part of the FIRE movement to become financially independent and retire early, which is good. I like people who strive towards their goals. I think that's part of what makes life interesting. But how realistic is that really for the average person that we discuss here? The easiest and most prominent way to calculate your personal FIRE number, the number you become financially independent and can tell your boss to f*** off, is the 4% rule. When you withdraw only 4% of your portfolio every year, you have a very low probability to run out of money over a 30-year period. So you can just multiply your annual spending by 25, and then you have your personal FIRE number. Now, I don't like the 4% rule. I said this in many videos already, and I say it again. For me, it is way too risky, and it doesn't account for taxes, health insurance, and whatnot else. And that's why we calculated with 4% of the gross income as a compromise. So 2,680 times 12 times 25 to come to 804,000 euros. So if this young fella wanted to FIRE with 60, he would need to invest just 335 euros a month with a 7% rate of return. Far less than 20% of his income. So you can see it's actually quite realistic to FIRE if you start early. But how do things look if you're older and not 25 anymore? If you are still in your late 20s, good old times, am I right? Your income should have increased quite substantially from when you first started. On average, people that age here in Germany earn 3,344 euro gross salary, which should be 2,244 euro net salary. Until your 40s is usually where your career should take off the most, with you making more and more money. You'll see in the older age groups later on. And that's why the net worth also more than doubled to 16,500 euros. Now, if this person would invest his 16,500 euro with a 7% rate of return, and add 11.1% of his income on top, he would reach a little over 866,000 euros by the time he retires with 67. Still a lot of money, but now you can see what I told you earlier on. The compounding interest can be your best friend or your worst enemy, because this person invests 20% more than the younger guy and gets out less money. With 11.1%, the difference might not be as significant, but if we take a look at the 20% savings rate, you can see this a lot more clearly. The older guy has over 100,000 euro less than the younger guy, despite investing 75 euros more. 100,000 euro! Do you realize how much money that is? And if this guy wanted to FIRE with age 60, he would need to invest over 25% of his income because his FIRE number is a little over 1 million euros. If you're determined to become financially independent, that's certainly doable. But what if you're in your 30s already? The good news is that your income should be a lot higher. On average, 3,844 euros now, and so should your net worth, almost double again. But surprisingly, this doesn't help really. Let's look at the savings rates. The average invests 30 euros more while making almost 300 euro more net income, which I'm sure you can do better. When you get a raise, take 50% of that and invest it for your future. And with the other 50%, you can do whatever you want. Spend it, have fun, enjoy life. The difference in the 11.1% savings rate is not that significant, right? In the 20%, it gets more severe because the end result is 120,000 euro apart. And you can see it's getting more and more. And the dream to FIRE is getting a little unrealistic already, because you would need to save over 36% of your income to reach your FIRE number. And now remember that we had just 25% in the age group earlier. Compounding interest. Now, late 30s. The average makes more than 4,000 euro gross for the first time and almost double its net worth again to 64,500 euros. Your life probably changed a little over the last 10-15 years, from the personal side, the spouse and maybe kids, and also from the financial side, that you may have a house or make some passive income already. But none of this is reflected in the official salary figures, so we leave it at that. Again, the 11.1% and the 20% look not that different as earlier on. Of course, you have to invest more and get out less. We've heard it all before. But you can still become a millionaire by investing 20% of your income. But what I want to take a look at is the FIRE number. Because we experience in meetings that most people start thinking about their own retirement in their late 30s. And then you search on the internet, what you can do, and eventually you will find the FIRE community. And then you start saying to yourself, I hate my job, so retiring early would actually be nice. Well, Your FIRE number is just below 1.24 million, which means you would need to save almost 1,400 euros a month. That is well over 50% of your net income. It's certainly not easy, and you would need to limit your spending significantly, but still kinda possible, right? Not easy, and not everybody can do it, but where there's a will, there's a way. In your late 40s, income still rises, but starts stagnating a little bit. And so does your net worth. Savings rates significantly higher, result a lot lower, yada yada yada. But look at that FIRE number of 1.3 million euro. And I don't care who you are, saving 85% of your net income is not possible. So if you are in your early 40s and want to FIRE, you definitely need to stick around to the end of the video, because I have 3 tips how you can catch up if you're behind. Or if you want to get a faster, better result than this. Late 40s is where all FIRE dreams fall apart, because you would need to save a lot more than you actually earn. And when looking at the 50s, you can see how insignificant savings really become. The young guy invests 200 euros a month and increased from 6,000 to 873,000 euro, which is 134 times his money when he retires with 67. Late 50s guy invests 300 euros a month and barely doubles his money until retirement. A tremendous difference if you think about it, and let's not even talk about the FIRE number of the late 50s guy. At this point, your only hope is a big inheritance, or you get life insurance and fake your own death. Both pretty bad financial strategies if you ask me. Before we come to the tips that I mentioned earlier, early 60s, the income goes down a little bit, which we thought is because of early part-time retirement. But then it goes up again after 65. Not sure what's happening here, but okay. If you look at the numbers, I probably shouldn't tell you as a licensed financial advisor that it's too late, but it. On a personal note, a personal tip from the private individual Axel Brückner. A couple of years before you plan to withdraw your money, you should go out of risk. Don't invest in the stock market anymore. Otherwise, something like the COVID crash of 2020 might happen, and about 40% of your investment is gone in just a couple of weeks. And when you're about to retire, and 40% of your life savings get wiped out right in front of your eyes, you're in trouble. I told you earlier on that I have 3 tips in case you need to catch up or you want to do better than the average numbers we've seen throughout the entire video. So, tip number 1. We calculated always with 7% return because that's the average stock market return adjusted for inflation. And the easiest way to catch up is to increase that return. Not by doing super risky investments and running the risk of gambling your money away, but by being smart. A base pension will allow you to invest in the stock market, and at the same time you can deduct your investment from your taxes, giving you up to 42% tax benefit, which you can reinvest again and therefore get a higher return. Or you leverage with a mortgage and buy a rental property. Here's the after-tax return of one of our properties that you can find on perfinex.de/properties. 20% per year. That will get you a lot faster where you want to be than 7%. Second tip, and we talked about this before, compounding interest can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So start as early as possible, and if you don't know how and where to start, let us know and we'll help you out. And the last tip, automate everything so you don't have to worry about saving, investing, retirement in your day-to-day life. The arguably greatest investor in human history said it best. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving.